Hello and welcome. I'm Anand Naidu sitting in for Riz Khan. After nearly a century of hostility, Turkey and Armenia have signed an agreement to normalize official relations. But will it hold up in the face of significant opposition? Following a last-minute delay over the wording of the official announcement, foreign ministers from Armenia and Turkey finally endorsed the protocol at a ceremony in Zurich on Saturday. It was also attended by chief diplomats from the United States, Russia, France and the European Union. The agreement will establish formal diplomatic relations, open a shared border within 2 months of ratification, and create a panel to resolve disputes over the 1915 Armenian massacre. However, the agreement must be ratified by parliaments in both countries. There is still strong opposition to the idea of improved ties from many Turks and Armenians around the world. There is also opposition to Armenia in neighboring Azerbaijan, where Armenian troops still occupy the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh enclave. Today we ask, can Turkey and Armenia overcome decades of bitterness and mistrust and transform the region's political dynamics? Or is this too much to expect with so many mutual problems unresolved? Joining us today to discuss these issues are Armen Sarkisyan, a former Prime Minister of Armenia. Professor Sarkisyan is the founding president of Eurasia House in London, which works to build bridges between this region and the West. He's currently director of the Eurasia program at Cambridge University and joins us today from Paris. From Ankara, the Turkish capital, Ibrahim Kalin, an assistant professor with the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University in Washington. Professor Kalin is also a chief advisor to the Turkish Prime Minister. Welcome to both of you. Prime Minister Sarkisyan, let me start with you. We now have this agreement signed between Armenia and Turkey, but already there are problems. The Reuters news agency is quoting a senior unnamed European diplomat as saying that the chances of the Turkish parliament ratifying the agreement without progress on the Nagorno-Karabakh issue is fairly slim. A similar sentiment was expressed by the Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan. So at this stage, are you hopeful that this agreement will stick?
Before going into discussions about the future of this protocol which is signed in Zurich, I would like to try to give you a sort of a perspective from the Armenian angle. Of course, I'll try to give a perspective which is not going to be uniform. It reflects probably my ideas, but also ideas of Armenians. You know, Armenia is a small country, but a global nation, so people have different opinions, but in many things they are unified. Yes, the protocol is aiming to open the borders between two countries, which is in principle is a very good idea, and I think it could have been done before. But if we go back into the history why the border was closed, I think it's important to understand that the border was closed immediately after the independence of Armenia in 1991, specifically in 93 when Turkey decided to blockade Armenia because of the conflict between Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh. There are claims also in the news reports that Armenia is signing this protocol because it is in difficult economic conditions, and opening the borders between Armenia and Turkey will help Armenia to recover its very difficult economic situation. Let me just make a couple of comments here. At the end of the day, as I told you, Armenian-Turkish border was closed by the Turkish side, and Turkey could have been opened years ago. We do understand the sensitivity from the Turkish side because of the conflict with friendly to Turkey, Azerbaijan. But the realities of the life are that Turks can travel to Armenia without any visa anytime, and the Armenians travel to Istanbul and to the other parts of the Turkey. There are more or less regular flights between two capitals, or to Istanbul and Yerevan. And the reality is also that opening a border with Turkey, when Armenia has open borders and good relations with Iran and Georgia, is going to be very positive, but it's not going to become the big source of economic recovery of Armenia. At the end of the day, the axis or the core or the engine of the Armenian economic recovery is going to be basically putting intact our own home, basically getting rid of what is left from corruption, the old Soviet systems, basically fight against unnatural monopolies and make the country a country of law and order, and basically invite people to invest in the country, including, first of all, the diaspora, which is dramatically and in huge size helping the country, but mostly
Prime Minister,
in charity or transfers.
Prime Minister, let me go to
Yes,
Professor Kalin in Ankara and get his opinion on this. Professor Kalin, is Turkey putting a condition on the success of this agreement by saying that we need to see some progress on the issue of Nagorno-Karabakh?
Well, the way Turkey analyzes the frozen conflicts in its region can be summed up as kind of follows. We consider all the problems in the region as interrelated. If you isolate one problem from the rest of the problems in the region which are related to that particular problem, you have a very little chance of solving them. We have seen this in Iraq, we have seen this in Palestine, we have seen this in other parts of the world, especially in our region. When we look at the Caucasus, which is one of the most dynamic and ethnically kind of multi-ethnic and pluralistic environments and regions in the world, you isolate one particular problem, for example, Turkish-Armenian bilateral relations, from the rest of the problems in the region, you end up actually delaying or deferring some of these frozen conflicts in the region. Turkey doesn't see progress on Nagorno-Karabakh issue as a precondition for improving relations between Turkey and Armenia. If that was the case, we wouldn't have signed this protocol on Saturday. Rather, what we're saying is that let's try to solve all of these problems at the same time simultaneously. Let everybody take a step towards regional stability. Because if you delay the Karabakh-Nagorno issue now, and say do nothing about it, we'll end up with this problem again and again as a major tension in the region between the Azeris and the Armenians. And as we have seen already, even though there is some opposition, but there is overwhelming support for the signing of the protocols and the process of normalization.
So let me ask you this.
The protocols or the signing of the protocols has already actually given a new impetus and energy to relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and we're hoping we're at the very beginning of a new process. We are hoping that there will be some progress there between the Azeris and the Armenians to solve the Karabakh issue between themselves.
Okay, Professor, let me ask you this then. Are you confident then that the Turkish Parliament will ratify this agreement in the very short term?
Not in the very short term. The Foreign Minister of Turkey, Ahmet Davutoğlu, will brief the Turkish Parliament officially on October the 21st. He will explain what the protocols mean, what they involve, what the timetable is. But the same thing, of course, is with the Armenian side. We don't know when the Armenian Parliament will be briefed about the protocols. But the key thing here is that we see a simultaneous progress on the key issues in the region. When that happens, it will be very easy for the Turkish Parliament to ratify the protocols. But unless, as I said, there is some progress there, it will be difficult. Even if you sign the protocols now and ratify it in the Parliament, it will not solve one of the most important and unfortunately, bloody conflicts in the Caucasus, which is the Karabakh issue.
Okay. Let's go to the telephones. We've got a caller from Italy, Franklin, calling us from Italy. Franklin, go ahead with your question.
Hello, thank you. My question is that what is the best way to conquer an enemy?
What is the best way to conquer an enemy? Well, let me put that question to Prime Minister Sarkisian, who joins us from Paris.
Well, I think the best way of conquer an enemy is, at the end of the day, to give him or to offer him credit of trust. And I think probably this is what has happened just recently by signing the protocol in Zurich. I would not call Turkey for the moment as an enemy of state of Armenia, but going back to the 100 years ago and the history of the genocide of Armenians at the fall of the Ottoman Empire, I think what has happened in Zurich is that the Armenian side has offered a credit of trust, because I think trust is the most valuable and very rare commodity that is around in politics and international relations. So building trust between nations like Turkey and Armenia is the key to the resolution of many other issues, including opening the borders, diplomatic relations, recognition of the bad pages of the history, and all of that. The key starts with trust. But in this case, that's a credit of trust. That's why I think both sides have to be very careful with it, because if the interpretation of one side is going to be, okay, we have this protocol, let's use it for tactical purposes, let's use it basically to solve other issues as well that attach this protocol to a condition, which is, for example, resolution of the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, then that very fragile credit of trust could be destroyed. If the sides are very, very careful with it, and I do understand that this is the beginning of the long process where the Armenian side, the nation,
Prime Minister,
which is...
do you also think that this process of ratification is going to be a very lengthy process? It's not going to happen in the short term.
Well, at the end of the day, the protocol has defined how long this process of ratification has to take. So what I am trying to say is that the process of improvement relations and building trust between two nations is much more larger and much more complex than just signing a protocol and even approving by the parliament. Because at the end of the day, we're speaking about two nations that have to continue living together.
Okay, let's go to
for the Armenian side.
Right, I'm going to go to the phones again. We have a caller from the United Kingdom. This is Abdi Nasser calling us. Go ahead with your question.
Actually, mine is a comment.
Yes.
And I just wanted to comment concerning the current situation between Armenia and Turkey. I think these two countries, they are neighbors, I believe so, and they should put their past behind and forge ahead to have a good relationship, because the world is a changing world, and therefore we have to look for other peaceful means to coexist and don't have what we have right now, like in Israel and Palestine. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Professor Kalin, do you think the two sides have got to the point now where they are able to put the past behind them?
Well, the past lives with us. It's a question of how to interpret it, how to make use of it. But our point of view, at least our understanding of conflicts and problems in our region, has changed over the years. During the Cold War, the only way to solve any problem, political, ethnic, border problem, etc., was a zero-sum game. It was always a win-lose situation where one party has to win and the other party has to lose. Now we have moved from that to a very post-Cold War, almost postmodern, very interrelated, kind of interdependent area of conflict resolution, where you can have win-win situations. You can avoid zero-sum games. This is our point of view on all of our problems in our region. That's why we implement the policy of zero problems with our neighbors. Now, some extremist groups on both sides, on the Turkish side as well as on the Armenian side, may think that solving this problem will work to the detriment of one side.
Okay, Professor.
We don't think so. Actually, we
my
believe
apologies.
there's a lot of benefit from both sides.
I'm going to have to interrupt you here.
Let me just add this sentence also.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just a sentence that actually we believe it is time to move from a contested history and a plethora of lost opportunities to a more strategic geopolitical point of view as far as Turkish-Armenian relations are concerned.
Okay, lots more to talk about. We're going to have to take a break right now. As we pause, let me remind you that you can join the conversation with your questions and comments by logging on to livestation.com and entering the chat room. You can see the debate taking place there right now. We'll be right back.
Dum